This episode is sponsored by Food Paste. If it's got flavor, it ain't food paste.
Unloading the shuttles will take at least 6 hours. During that time, our landing force will be vulnerable to attack. Already the Thalfang Planetary Guard's counter-invasion forces are readying for a fight, and advanced units are moving to attack the landing fields. The heresy of Thalfang must be cleansed with the fires of the Emperor's judgment. Today, he calls upon you to stand guard against evil. Sisters, you must defend the Crossroads near Osroene and hold it long enough for the shuttles to unload and return to orbit. Do your duty and hold on to the last.
In this scenario, 3 squads of Battle Sisters, supported by 3 Paragons, will endeavor to hold the Crossroads against the spear tip of the Planetary Defense Forces. Each turn, random guard units will arrive based on a d6 roll. On each of the Sisters' turns, they will also roll a d6. On a 5 or a 6, a shuttle will take off safely. To gain victory, the Sisters must hold on until 5 shuttles depart.
The Adepta Sororitas forces will consist of 3 squads of Battle Sisters. They'll have bolters, but also each squad will have heavy weapons, a heavy flamer, as well as a multi-melta. There's also going to be a Palatine as HQ, as well as a Hospitaller. For heavy weapons, they'll have the Paragon war suits, armed with multi-meltas, Paragon grenade launchers, and Paragon war maces. Turn 1, the guard reinforcement roll is a 4, and that'll bring a 10-man squad onto the board. For their movement phase, they're going to go up 6 inches, though that'll mean they're still out of range of those Sisters of Battle, and that's going to be their turn. Now it's over to the Sisters. Will that first shuttle depart safely? They roll a 6, and the first transport is away. For their movement turn, the Paragons are going to come right down the hill to act as a heavy vanguard against the Astra Militarum threat. Right now, they're also out of range, and that is going to be the first turn. For turn 2, the Guard are going first. And for reinforcements, the Thalfang Planetary Guard rolls a 3, and that means another squad of 10 have arrived on the scene. That first squad's going to head up toward the containers and maybe try to take out those Paragons, while the second squad heads into the nearby ruins, looking for cover and to protect the Guard's right flank. Still out of range, so no lasgun fire just yet. On the second turn, the Sisters roll a 2, and that means no transports leaving this turn. So this isn't going to be too easy a battle. The 3 Paragons are going to move up to the center to engage that infantry. While on the flank, the third squad of Sisters heads down the hill to face off against the Guard squad hiding in the ruins. The Paragons are in range of both Guard squads. First up, the grenade launchers will fire into the ruins, 6 shots hitting on 4s. 1 misses, but the rest find their target. Strength 6 versus Toughness 3 means they are wounding on 2s. Again, 1 fails, and the rest wound. At AP -1, that's going to be a 6-up save. 1 guard survives, and 4 die. Now on to those multi-meltas. Hitting on 4s because of the cover, 3 miss, and 3 go through. Strength 8 versus Toughness 3, wounding on 2s. 2 wound. AP -4 is too much firepower, and so those guard are just toast. Because they lost 3, that Thalfang Guard squad in the ruins needs a 1 or 2 to pass morale. But that 3 won't do it. We're using homebrew morale rules here, so they'll roll a d6 and they get a 1. That means they lose d3 models. But 1 is a lucky roll, so that fella runs away and the rest stay to fight. At the start of turn 3, things are not looking too good for the Thalfang Planetary Guard. But, unlike the Sisters of Battle, they're going to get steady reinforcements. They roll a 4 and another squad of 10 shows up to fight. Now, on to movement. That beat-up squad is going to head right up to the walls of those ruins so they can start taking shots at the Paragons from cover. The center squad moves up to find its own cover in those containers. They've got those Paragons in range now, while the back squad heads toward the flank to take on those sisters coming down the hill. First up, those fellas in the containers. We have only 5 shots hitting those Paragons. Strength 3 las guns against toughness 5 means wounding on 5s. 2 wound, but those Paragons save on 2s, easily deflecting those shots. From the ruins, 5 shots with only 1 hitting, but it doesn't wound. Over on the flank, 10 las gun shots into that sister squad. 10 shots hitting on 4-ups. 6 hit. At strength 3 versus toughness 3, they'll wound on 4s. Only 2 wound, and those sisters have a 3-up save, and 2 5s will save them nicely. Some weak shooting from the guard, but then again, they are armed with underpowered flashlights. At the start of the sisters' third turn, can they get another shuttle off the ground? They roll a 4 and do not. Luckily, they've been holding off the guard quite easily so far. Unlike the guard, though, they can't replace their losses. Rather than move up and risk getting caught by some potential guard-heavy reinforcements, they're going to sit back and let their bolters do the talking. It's been working so far. First up on the flank, we've got 7 bolt guns and a multi-melta shooting into the advancing guard, though those sisters aren't quite close enough to bring their heavy flamers to bear. Those bolters are going to hit on 3-ups, and 6 do. Strength 4 against toughness 3 means wounding on 3s. 3 go through. No AP means a 5-up save, and 2 6s, those are some lucky guardsmen. Still, 2 are killed. Next up, that multi-melta hits on a 4, but both shots miss. Now, what are those Paragons up to? They're going to hit the center guard with the multi-meltas and launch some grenades into those ruins. 4 of 6 grenade shots hit. At strength 6, they're wounding on 2s, and 2 do indeed wound. Against AP-1 grenades, the guards need a 6 to save, but they fail the roll, and that's 3 more guard down. Next up, multi-melta is hit on 4, but only 1 shot hits. Those guards must have pretty good cover. It'll wound on a 2, and it does. And of course, there's no save against multi-meltas, so 1 more guardsman falls. The sisters didn't do enough damage to shake that guard morale, so we'll head now into turn 4. As the battle heats up, the guard are helped out by the arrival of a scout sentinel armed with a plasma cannon that can maybe do some damage against those Paragons. It's going to head up straight toward them. The squad hiding behind those containers is going to rally around that walker and hopefully help it take down those Nundums. On the other hand, that flanking squad are a bunch of fearless bastards, and they are going to head toward the sister squad. What they lack in brightness, they make up for with mindless courage. That Sentinel plasma cannon gets D3 shots, and they roll a 6 for 3 shots. They'll hit on a 4, but only 1 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s. It's AP-3, which means a 5-up save, but the Paragons roll a 3, and it does 2 damage, bringing one of those down to just 2 wounds. On the flank, we have 9 las guns hitting on 4s. Some pretty good shooting from the guard here. 6 go through. Strength 3 against toughness 3, wounding on 4s, and half of those wound. Statistically average. Those sisters have a 4-up save and shrug off all 3 of those shots. The Emperor is definitely with them today. In the center, we've got 10 more lasgun shots into the Paragons and hitting on 4s. Only 4 hit, though. Strength 3 versus Toughness 5, they're going to need 5s to wound, but sadly, for the guard, nothing goes through. Those are some tough old Paragons. For the Sisters command phase, will they get another shuttle off the ground? With a roll of a 1, they will not. Right now, those 2 squads on the hill and that Palatine are holding back in reserve. Knowing that any number of guard units can come up the road to meet them, the Paragons are also going to stay put. They're great at melee, but they're going to keep up the shooting as it's been working pretty well for them so far. And on this flank, that squad's going to move up just a bit so that Heavy Flamer can do some damage, and so the bolters can get within half range and double up on those rolls. Let's see if that guard squad can survive. Let's start with the flank shooting. 7 bolters hitting on 3s. Not too good at shooting for those sisters. Only 3 hit. Strength 3 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 4s. 1 wounds. 5-up save, but 1's not going to do it. Next, 2 multi-melta shots hitting on 4, but both fail. Lastly, that Heavy Flamer gets D6 shots. So 3 total, Strength 4, Toughness 3, wounding on 5s. Triple 6s will do nicely. The guard need a 6-up save, 2 die, but 1 manages to save. In the center, those paragons have a lot of targets to choose from. They're going to launch their grenades into the infantry and see if those multi-meltas can roast that sentinel. First up, the grenades are hitting on a 4. 4 find their targets and wound on 2s. But only 2 do, and that'll knock out 2 infantry. Now, 6 multi-melta shots will hit on 3s, and 5 of those do. Strength 8 versus Toughness 6 means that walker gets wounded on a 3. 4 of those shots wound. At AP -4, that means a 3-up save becomes a 7-up. No way to roll a 7 on a d6, so that walker can't save. They're doing d6 damage each for 19 total damage. That's enough to take out that sentinel with 1 shot. But does it explode? Boom! On a 6 it does, and that means 1 mortal wound to that infantry unit nearby. Okay, there's a reason I love multi-meltas. Now for morale. That guard squad on the flank lost 3. With leadership of 6, they'll need a 3 or less to pass morale, but they don't. They roll for morale effect and get a 3. That means they're pinned and can't move or shoot, though they'll have a chance to rally in their next command phase. In the center, that guard lost 3 as well. They fail morale also, and they'll be retreating back, their normal move of 6 inches, away from the enemy unit that did the damage. They're also going to have a chance to rally on their next turn, but right now, looks like that explosion made them all run away. At the start of the 5th turn, things are looking rather bad for the Thalfang Planetary Guard. But will a reinforcement roll change the tide of battle? They roll a 6, and things may indeed be looking up for the guard as a Leman Russ battle tank has just entered the fray. It's going to move right up and stare down those paragons. Will that battle tank help rally those troops? They'll need to roll lower than a 6 to rally, and they get a 6. They are not going to rally quite yet. But on the flank, they will indeed rally. Even with rallying, they're still going to head back into those ruins to find some cover. Lastly, that 2-man squad is staying put. With that tank right next to them, they're starting to feel a little better. The Leman Russ is going to fire everything into those paragons. They're the Sisters' only heavy weapons, and with them out of the way, there's not going to be any stopping the Astra Militarum from destroying those vulnerable shuttles and stopping this invasion before it even starts. First up, the tank's plasma cannon needs a 4 to hit. 3's not going to do it, though. Next, the Leman Russ battle cannon is a heavy d6. It rolls a 4 for 7 total shots, hitting on 4s. 2 miss and 5 hit. Wounding on 2s, 3 manage to wound. AP -2 means the paragons need a 5 up to save. 2 do, but 1 doesn't. It does 3 damage, which means 1 paragon is killed and the other is left with only 3 wounds. On the flank, we have 3 shots from the guard hitting on 5. 1 hits. 3 against 3, it's going to wound on a 4. That 1 shot wounds. Can the Sisters save? They'll need a 4, and that 5 will do it nicely. In the center, we have 2 more lasgun shots at those paragons. Both hit on 4s. Strength 3 to toughness 5, they're going to need 5s, and they do manage to land 1. AP 0 and a 2-up save. That paragon saves. As we enter the bottom of the 5th, the Leman Russ really has already proven to be a great boon for the Thalfang Guard. 1 paragon has fallen, but the Sisters still have a lot of resources. Unfortunately, that roll of a 1 means no shuttles this turn. So the Sisters on the hill are going to continue to hang back in reserve. On the flank, those Sisters are going to stay put and keep on shooting into that squad. While in the center, those paragons are going to shift to behind the ruins to get a little cover from that beast of a tank. They're going to continue to use grenades against the infantry and hope those multi-meltas can melt them a bit of a Leman Russ as well. First up, we're down to 4 grenade shots hitting on 4-ups. 2 find their mark. Strength 6 against infantry means wounding on 2s, and both do. They'll need a 6-up save, and 1 makes it, but the other buys it. Now, multi-meltas going straight into that Leman Russ, hitting on 4s, and half will go through. Also statistically average. Strength 8 versus toughness 8. They need 4s to hit, but only 1 hits. AP -4 will mean a 6 to save, and bam, that tank saves. On the flank, they're at half range, which means double bolter shots. But even with that, only 5 shots hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3, wounding on 3s. 4 shots wound. AP 0 bolters means a 5-up save and only 1 save. But that won't matter because 3 shots are enough to wipe out that squad. Heading into melee, the Paragons think about charging that Leman Russ, but decide not worth risking that Overwatch. So that's going to end the Sisters' 5th turn. Coming in now to turn 6. That's right, GW. They're my toys, and I can have as many turns as I want. And I want 6 turns. Actually, I'm going to have as many turns as it takes to get those 5 shuttles to depart, and or for these sisters to be completely wiped out. Starting with the guard's command phase and morale check. That infantry unit does rally. Maybe seeing those Paragons hiding from the tank gave them some hope for this battle. The reinforcement roll is a 5, and that means another Scout Sentinel joins the fray. The Scout moves up 8 inches to get a good shot at those Paragons with that plasma cannon. The rallying infantry heads up to throw some extra lasgun shots in as well. For shooting, they're going to go ahead and throw everything at the Paragons. Everything. 6 lasguns, 2 plasma cannons, and a battle cannon are going to try to wipe those sisters off the board. Can they do it? Plasma cannon gets 4 total shots, and all 4 hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5. Those are wounding on 3s. 2 miss, but 2 hit. AP -2 means a 4-up save. 1 saves and 1 goes through, but with 3 damage, that means another Paragon is killed. Paragon. Can that Walker's Plasma Cannon finish off that last Paragon? Heavy D3 rolling a 1 means just a single shot hitting on a 5-up. A 6, that's all it takes. Strength 8 against Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3. That 5 will do it. AP -3 means a 5-up to save, and they don't. It does 2 damage, bringing her down to 2 wounds. Finally, 5 lasgun shots. Can they get lucky? Hitting on 6s because they're in cover. And not a single one hits. None of the guard units are going to be foolish enough to charge that last Paragon in melee, so that's going to end the guard's 6th turn. The sisters are going to try and get another shuttle off the ground, and what do you know they do? The remaining Paragon sister has decided to go down in a blaze of glory and heads right toward the Thalfang Guard forces. On the flank, the sister squad moves up 6 inches toward those ruins to reinforce the center. Now to the hill, they're going to actually send 1 squad down into battle while keeping the other back in reserve in case things get even more desperate. To shooting, the last Paragon is going to throw everything at that tank. First up, the multi-melta is hitting on 3s. Both hit. Equal strength and equal toughness, they'll wound on 4s. 1 goes through. At AP -4, that tank needs a 6 to save, which it does not. D6 plus 2 damage, oh my gosh, a 1. That means only 3 damage. The Leman Russ is left with 12 wounds total. Not much real damage, but the grenade launchers hit on a 3-up, and both also miss. Some bad luck for the sisters, barely scratching that tank. The Paragon is going to charge into the infantry squad in hopes of killing some guard, and also avoiding that Leman Russ's firepower. It's a 2-inch charge, but of course they're going to overwatch. With 5 lasguns, they might just get lucky. 2 6s will hit. Strength 3 versus Toughness 5. They'll need 5s to wound, which they don't get. She makes her charge. Not particularly surprising. It's a 2-inch charge. She's got 3 attacks with her War Mace, hitting on 3s. 2 go through, 9 strength versus Toughness 3, so triple. So it hits on 2s, and it does. AP -2 means they can save on a 6, which they don't. It does 3 damage, but it's only going to kill 1 guy. The guard are going to attempt a counterattack here, and nothing goes through. On to turn 7. The guard roll a 4, which is going to bring up a 15-man squad. They are going to come in and cut off the squad of sisters in the flank before they can come to the aid of that last Paragon. In the center, that tank has a 48-inch and 72-inch range, so it's going to back out of the way and use that long range to take out those sisters on the hill willy-nilly. Willy-nilly hilly. And lastly, the Scout Sentinel is going to move up to just outside melee range so they can join in the fight on the charge phase. Shooting. The Leman Russ is going to fire everything into the squad of advancing sisters. The last cannon is hitting on a 4, and it hits. Strength 9 against toughness 3 means wounding on 2s. A 1, not going to go through. Next up, the battle cannon is d6 plus 3, and a 6 means 9 total shots, hitting on a 4. 2 miss, and 7 find their target. Strength 9 versus toughness 3, they're going to be wounding on 2s. 1 doesn't wound, but 6 do. AP minus 2 means sisters need 6s to save. 1 saves, but 5 are down, and that takes out half the squad. That is bad news for the sister because they cannot replace those losses. On the flank, there'll be 15 total lasgun shots into the battle sisters, hitting on 4 ups. 4 miss and 11 hit. 3 versus 3 means they'll wound on 4s. 4 shots go through at AP 0. 3 up, and 2 more sisters fall, bringing that squad down to just 7. In melee, the Scout Walker and the last remaining guardsman will be piling in on that Paragon in hopes of taking down the last of the sisters' heavy weapons. In total, that's 5 infantry attacks and 1 Scout Sentinel chainsaw. First up, the Guard. They'll need 5s and only manage 1. Strength 3 versus toughness 5, so they'll wound on a 5, which they don't. I mean, they're punching metal armor with weak, fleshy fists. Not really going to do much. But can a chainsaw do better? A big, giant chainsaw. Let's see. It's got 2 attacks hitting on 4 ups. Both hit. Strength 6, so they'll wound on 3s. 1 wounds. AP minus 2 means a 4-up save. Doesn't make it, though. It does 2 damage, leaving that Paragon with just 1 singular wound left. But that's enough to stick around and fight back. It is going to slam that mace right into that Sentinel like an Ewok log hitting a completely unrelated vehicle on the Forest Moon of Endor. Unrelated. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. All go through. Strength 9 versus toughness 6 hitting on 3s. 2 hits. AP minus 2. They'll need 5 ups to save. They get 1. And that Scout Sentinel is brought down to 5 wounds. At the bottom of the 7th, that Leman really has turned the tide. 1 Paragon left with 1 wound. 1 squad down to half strength and another down to 70%. Sisters cannot keep taking damage like that. But thankfully, the Emperor's grace is upon them because a 6 means that another shuttle is off. Only 2 more left to go. And the sisters can run the hell away and let the Guard come on because the invasion force will have landed. For movement, the sisters on the flank are going to withdraw a little bit into some cover behind the big log that happens to be there. It's not a stick, it's a big log. In the center, the Paragon is going to stay locked in combat, but the sisters in the back have a lot of movement to get in bolter range of that tank. They need to be within 30 to shoot. They are at 36. So they're going to retreat back to cover and at least be harder to hit. It's either that or try to advance in the open, and that tank is probably just going to chew them up before they can even get close enough to shoot. Now, back to the flank for shooting. 5 bolters hitting on 3s. 4 hit. 3 versus 3 means wounding on 3s. 2 at AP 0, and both save. Not too good, but the sisters do have other weapons to bear, like that heavy flamer and its D6 shots. Ooh, a 5, and the sisters need it badly. They auto-hit, and strength 6 versus toughness 3 means wounding on 2s. They all wound. AP minus 1 means a 6-up save for those Guard. 1 manages to save, and 4 are roasted alive by the holy flames of judgment. Flamethrowers. Lastly, the multi-melta misses, and that brings us to the melee phase. That lonely Paragon is attacking the Scout. 3 attacks hitting on 3 ups, only 1 hits. Her servos must have seriously been damaged. Strength 9 versus toughness 6, wounding on 3s. 3 damage, bringing that Scout down to just 2 wounds. The Sentinel is going to counter 2 attacks hitting on 4s. Strength 6 versus toughness 5, hitting on 3s. None wound. 5 infantry are going to punch the metal with their hands. They need 4s. 1 actually hits. They need 6s to wound and don't get them. The sisters did not score a knockout blow that turn, but of course, all they have to do is hold on long enough to get 2 more shuttles off the ground, and that invasion force is going to be saved. That'll bring us to turn 8. On turn 8, another squad of 10 Guard arrive from up the road and head into the center of the fight. On the flank, the survivors of that squad are going to move up and take cover among the ruins. This is going to be a battle of attrition. Behind them, the new squad are going to move into the ruins to support the flank. The Leman Russ is still in a good position. Out of range, but able to fire at will. That is a nice position. So, let's do some shooting. The Leman Russ las cannon rolls a 1 and hits nothing but empty air. It burns the air, though, because it's a laser. The main cannon is a D6 plus 3 shot. 4 is going to mean 7 total shots, hitting on 5s. Only 1 hits, though. Strength 8 versus Toughness 3. Wounds on a 2, and it wounds. The sisters need a 4-up save, which they fail, and 1 more sister falls. Not bad against a tank, though. 1 sister. On the flank, we have 11 las guns hitting on 5s. 5 hit. 3 versus 3 means wounding on 4s. 4 do. AP 0 means the sisters need a 3-up to save. 1 fails, and yet another sister is killed. Now, to that melee action. The Sentinel has 2 attacks hitting on 4s, but both miss. 5 infantry are going to punch some metal. They'll need 4s, and only 1 hits. 3 versus 7, it needs a 6 and fails. Not too good a melee from the Thalfang Guard. Can the last standing Paragon do a little better? She's got 3 attacks hitting on 3s against that Scout Walker. 2 go through. 9 versus 7 will wound on 3s. 1 actually does wound. That mace is AP minus 2, so the Walker needs a 5-up to save, and it does. Everyone in this fight is completely unscathed this round. Now it's the sisters' turn. They are starting to feel that attrition, but thankfully some terrible shooting from the Planetary Guard is helping them out. Will they get transport number 4 off the ground? Boom, they do. That means they're almost there. They just have to protect the landing until 1 more shuttle can take off. With only 1 shuttle left, the Palatine is ordering everyone into battle. On the flank, the sisters are moving up toward the squad to hopefully finish them off. And in the rear, all of the sisters are going to come forward into the fight. Danger be damned. For shooting on the flank, we have 3 bolters at half range, 6 shots, hitting on 3s, half go through. 3 versus 3, they'll wound on 4s, and only 1 does. AP minus 0, can the guard save? No, they don't, and they lose another guardsman. Up next, the heavy flamer rolls a d6 and gets a 6. Those are all going to auto hit and wound on 2s. 5 do wound, they are AP minus 1s, the guard needs 6s to save. 1 does save, but 4 more bite the dust. And by bite the dust, I mean literally catch on fire. Finally, the multi-melta. 1 hits, wounding on 2s, but they roll a 1. And now it's on to the sisters' melee. Again, that Paragon is going to try to take out that Scout Sentinel. It's a Scout Sentinel. The lawyers have gone over it. 3 attacks, hitting on 3s. All of them hit. Strength 9 versus Toughness 7, wounding on 3s. They all go through. AP minus 2 means that Scout needs a 5-up to save. They save 1 and take 2 damage, but that is enough to kill it. Does it explode? Boom. No, it doesn't. Thankfully for that Paragon. The missing infantry counterattack, but don't manage to land any blows because, again, they're literally punching metal with their fists. It's probably going to do them more damage to punch it than it is going to be like actually causing damage to the thing they punch. Now on the flank, that guard unit lost 4, which means they need a 1 or a 2 to pass morale. They roll a 3 and fail. They roll a 2 for morale effect, and they're going to retreat 6 inches toward the nearest cover. Leading into turn 9, the Thalfang Guard rolls a 1 for reinforcement and gets a 5-man squad. Will their arrival allow the retreating squad to rally? They roll a 6, and they do rally. So just as I see another 5-man guard coming up to reinforce them, they get their courage back. The new 5-man squad moves up to join them in the cover of the ruins. The center squad is going to advance toward those sisters in the rear. They're not going to let the tank do all the work. Everyone else is going to stay put and keep whittling away at the Sororitas. Speaking of, that Leman Russ las cannon needs a 4 to hit, and a 6 will do it nicely. Strength 9 to Toughness 3. Needs a 2, and they got it. It's AP minus 3, so they'll need a 6 to save, which they do not. And that means 1 more sister falls. How about that battle cannon? Ooh, a 1 means only 4 shots hitting on 4s. 3 miss. It needs a 2 to wound, and it does. AP minus 3 means a 6 to save, and that squad is going to lose another sister. On the flank, we've got 11 shots hitting on 4s. 7 hit, and they're gonna wound on 4s. 5 do wound. AP 0 means a 4-up save, and they save every last one of them. Not bad. Lastly, the guard in the center are going to punch that mech and try to get that single wound down to 0 wounds. Alright, 3 hit, they'll need 5s to wound, and 2 do. With no AP, that Paragon easily saves both. Thankfully, another merciful round for the Adeptus Sororitas. They only need 1 more shuttle. Can they get it? This 1 die roll could mean victory and a safe unloading of that main invasion force. Let's see. If they roll a 5 or a 6, they will have won the game. Nope. On to some action. The sisters in the rear are going to continue moving up to take on that battle tank. They're not quite in range, but they might just bring those multi-melters to bear if they can get a little closer. Speaking of shooting, let's go to the flank. They are sending everything into that 5-man squad at the front. First up, 6 bolters hitting on 3s, 4 hit, wounding on 4s, only 1 wounds. 5 up save, and the guard manages to save. How about that heavy flamer? D6 shots, boom, rolling a 6. That is more like it. Double strength, so they're going to wound on 2s. 5 do wound. AP -1 means a 6 to save. 1 manages to save, and the other 4 are dead. 1 guy left. Can the multi-melta end him? 1 shot goes through. 8 versus 3 wounds on a 2 up. There is no save, so that squad is going to be completely wiped out. In the center, both squads are within 24 inches of that infantry. 2 multi-melta shots hitting on 3s, both hit. They need a 2 to wound, and they get it. No saving, so 1 infantryman falls. Next up, 7 bolters hitting on 3s. 2 fail, but the rest go through. 3 versus 3, wounding on 4s. 4 of them do indeed wound. 5 up save, and they save 3. 1 guardsman is going to fall. The heavy flamer is not yet in range, but they do have another multi-melta. Both shots hit, wounding on 2s, both go through, no saving, so that's 2 more guard dead. Now, for melee, that Paragon is still standing. 1 wound left. She's got 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, but only 1 goes through. Strike 9, it wounds on a 2, and it wounds. AP -1 means a 6 up save, which they do not get, and that is another guardsman down. Can the troops counterattack? 3 bare-knuckled punches hitting on 4s. 1 hits, needs a 6 to wound, and does not get it. That Paragon is going to live to fight at least 1 more turn. Now that center guard unit needs to roll for morale. A 6 means they fail. They roll a 1. With the homebrew morale rules, that means they lose D3 troops. They run away. A 1. Only 1 guy does. He just says, screw this, and buggers right off. And that's going to bring us to turn 10. The battle of attrition continues, but of course only the Planetary Guard can replace their losses. They roll a 3, and another 10-man squad shows up to the fight. They're going to arrive right at the center. The Leman Russ is going to back up just a little bit. Fun thing is, there is no out of bounds on this table. This isn't even a table. It's the Earth. The Earth is my table. The tank can go wherever the heck it wants. That'll make the sisters' attack even harder, because they're going to now have to still come 30 inches. Will it be able to pick them all off before they can get their last few multi-meltas into range? We'll see. In the center, that infantry squad pulls back into the ruins. They don't have line of sight on that flank sister squad, but next turn they'll be able to move up and take some shots. For shooting, the tank is hitting that as of yet undamaged squad in the back. The Leman Russ plasma cannon misses, but the battle cannon rolls a 4 for 7 shots. They'll hit on 4s. Only 2 hit, though. They are 8 versus 3 and are going to wound on 2s. They do. It's AP -2, so the sisters need a 5 up save. They don't, and they're going to lose another sister. On the flank, we have 6 lasguns hitting on 4s. 3 hit. 3 versus 3, so wounding on 4s. 2 wound, AP 0, so the sisters have a 3 up save. 1 is saved, and the other dies. Now, on to melee. Only 3 soldiers left in the fight. They'll hit on 4s. 1 hit lands. Strength 3 versus toughness 7. They need 6s to wound, and they don't manage to do it. But the Paragon gets to fight back. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. Only 1 hits. 7 versus 3, so she wounds on 2. 1 wounds. That mace is AP -2, and they're going to need a 6 up to save, which they do not get. 1 more guard dies. Now the sisters are going to see what they can do. They really, at this point, may not have the guns to take down that tank, and that might just end up doing them in. But of course, their only job here is to tie up the Crossroads long enough to prevent an attack on those transports. Speaking of, will they manage to get that last one in the air on a 5 or 6? They will, and will win this game. Let's see if they can do it. A 6! They roll a 6, and the Sisters of Battle are triumphant. Just as more of the Thalfang Planetary Guard arrives at the Crossroads, a voice crackles over the Palatine's communicator. The 5th transport is away. The landing has succeeded. The invasion forces have deployed. Withdraw back to the safe zone. And now we have a special campaign rule. There was a hospitaler who survived the battle, so the sisters that were killed during the battle get a chance to save. 12 were shot this game. On a 3-up, they lived to fight another day. 5 were killed, and 7 were wounded and were able to get back to safety. And the other 2 paragons both survived and will live to fight again. The Adeptus Sororitas won this battle, but will they win the war? Stay tuned, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and enjoy your food taste.
Do your duty and hold on to the list. Nailed it on that one.
Something like that for like an end of credits.
Do you want me to do it again?
Yeah, but like do just like a general.